What's up, y'all? This is Sean here, back with another video, Shelter and Seeds. Today I'm going to be going over a little follow-up on how the garden is looking today. This is the garden that I did a sheep mulch video on. I'll post the link here, there, somewhere in this screen, and you can check that out. And this is totally experimental. Never really had a garden myself before, but took some of the stuff that I've learned about over the past couple of years and made this little garden. And so I'll give you a little overview of it, show you what plants are growing, what you can do with them, and how things are going. Alright, so here's an overview of the location here. That's the trailer that I was rebuilding with a couple guys here at this community I live in Austin, South Austin. And a little mix of Airbnbs and houses and trailers and tiny homes and such. But this is what we built, and put that little roof over it, and had to remodel the entire inside because it was leaking and everything, and full of rats and rat poop and all that jazz. So anyhow, here's the little garden here. So did a little design with the little driftwood that was caught in the creek down here, and made kind of a little organic shape to it, and some of the rock that was in the creek bed, some limestone there. So I'll just give you a little kind of overview of the shape of everything first. Got a nice little wood chip pathway I just installed. I had some stones in there from the creek, but didn't really like the way they were settling, and so removed those and put in wood chips instead. Left over from a landscape project that I was doing. Just recently built this little half teepee bamboo thing from the bamboo patch that we have grown here in the community. And yeah, so overall the sun does come up in the east over there, and it has this little patch that comes through right here, peak summer, which is great. We're in middle of May right now, so we're actually getting some good sun coming in, surprisingly all the way up to the back of the garden. Back in January, February, it was just about like the front tips of these curves that were getting sun, which was unfortunate. I realized that after we put this new roof on here, that it's covering a pretty significant amount of that south angled sun. But it's gonna be a summer garden, and other times of year it'll be a little bit more dormant just because of lack of sun and all that jazz. So give you a look through of all the different plants going on here. So right here is a young pecan that was already here. Very cool. It's a state tree of Texas. We'll probably bear pecans hopefully in a few years here or something, I don't know. But knowing that this was going to cast some significant shade, decided to put some more shade tolerant plants in here. So we got cat mint right there. I believe it's cat mint or it's catnip, and it's got nice, you know, it likes the shade. It's perennial. It'll come back, and I can harvest that fresh to make tea. Did that this actually didn't do that this morning because I wanted to preserve it, to get a little bushier and let it grow some more before I start harvesting it more. And then here planted this nasturtium from seed, and this is really great. You can just eat the leaves, you can eat the flowers, and it provides a little spice. And it's not super heat tolerant for Texas summers, so I planted it in the shade here, and it's flowering pretty well. Hope it lasts a little bit longer because it is in partial shade. I believe this is dianthus, a little flower that I just got from gifted as a little pot. And yeah, just a little extra flowers. It's not flowering. Well, it's got one flower in the back there right now. This, I just found this, looks like a gourd melon of some kind. Found that growing this morning, and I was pretty surprised. I didn't know anything was going to come up from that. Another nasturtium there. And here I've got these beans that I harvested last year when I was up in Seattle, I believe, in someone's yard, and just planted them here. I think they're scarlet runner beans or some other kind of bean. I just planted them, made these little teepees out of bamboo, and then run a string over here. I was hoping that they would climb across. Doesn't really seem to be happening. It's kind of a mess and not really getting full sun, and not growing exactly the way I was hoping. Not really sure what's going on there, but kind of just let it be and provide some greenery. And here, these are just kind of some weeds that came up by doing the sheep mulch and gathering leaves. So not necessarily sure what those are yet, but that will come with time. And then right here, this little rock way I made so that the you can kind of see a little bit of blue there. So the gray water that comes just from the sink in here, I had it drain just directly down in here and drain right there. So you can see a lot of flies there. I use Dr. Bronner's soap and pretty much only wash down organic stuff, not organic certified or whatever, but just food scraps and whatever comes off. And then it's pretty clayey soil, so it holds the moisture pretty well. And then right there I have an elderberry I just planted. That's a plant that should grow well with wet feet, and it looks like, if you get a little closer here, it's starting to do its flowering thing, slowly building up, so it's good signs growing. Looks like it's doing pretty well. And then on this structure here, I wanted something to crawl up. This is like a community sink space, so I wanted a little bit of privacy, so I built this. Very simple, just tied them up there with some barbed wire scraps that we had, because we're in Texas and that's what we got. And this is a native coral honeysuckle, so it's a twining plant. It should crawl up, and because I had to transplant it, it has some dieback, but we're seeing some new growth spots there, and hoping it spreads up. The plan is also to put some native passion vine over here as well, so it can kind of do a tag team effect, but waiting on some cuttings of passion vine to come up, and then I can bring them in there. And then over here we got another experiment with scarlet runner beans, I believe they are, and they flowered. They're still flowering a little bit. They're not crawling as much as I'd like to, but they're super bushy, and I probably should have given them much bigger support for them to do that, so they're kind of struggling, a little overgrown in one single area. Over here is the salvia I was gifted as well, salvia Gregi. That should begin hopefully flowering out soon. It looks like it's still getting established. It had a lot of growth above ground when it got transplanted, so it's probably going to take some time for it to bring its vitality up again. And then over here, this is another salvia of the same kind, and this one is flowering. I got this one when it was young from a nursery, and it's got these nice little pink flowers. And with these, you can actually eat the flowers. They have a slight sweetness to them, and the leaves you can make a tea out of as well, which I haven't done the leaves yet, but I have eaten some of the flowers and they're real good. And then over here, a bunch of like random things are coming up. I threw seeds all around in here. I'm not really sure what's coming up, if they're native weeds or they came in, other plants I just don't know, but I'm just letting them grow, see what happens. Over here, one thing did come up that I planted, and that's borage, and that's looking really good. It's flowering. It's been attracting a lot of different bugs. Makes these nice little flowers. This is a common plant you'll hear of in the permaculture world. Has a great pollinator, and it's got this big old thick herbaceous stem there, or trunk, or whatever you want to call it. And this looks to be a little pecan seedling, so that's cool. Might have to transplant that, pot it up. This threw in a tomato, and that's coming up real well. Over here is a fall obedient plant. That's another native plant that should be flowering hopefully sometime in the summer to fall. We got a native sunflower popping up right here. That's going to be coming up soon, next few weeks or so. Got some more nasturtium growing here. And then this is a pink gara that I got from a nursery recently, and it just flowered today, which is awesome. And that is a nice sun-loving plant. Hopefully it can stay in the sun right here. Like I said, sun comes right through the little pathway, which is excellent. And that thing's gonna bush out and hopefully flower a bunch more. And I forget what the name of this plant is, but got this from a nursery as well. It's got these nice little purplish flowers, kind of low lying. Forget what that's called. Wish I remembered. Got this plant from a dumpster. I think it was like Home Depot or something. But it's leafing out. We'll see if it flowers at some point. When I got it, it was really struggling, but it's come back pretty nicely. These kind of woody stems. Still haven't identified what plant it is, but that's okay. Here we've got some melon, and I don't know if it's watermelon or some other kind of melon, but got these two from the nursery there and over here. And the idea is that as they grow, they'll kind of come over and they'll grow down here and sort of into the walkway, so kind of sprawl out and like leave the confines of the garden bed. Hopefully that should be cool. And we've got the calendula flowers there, looking real nice. The other ones are kind of spent in between, waiting for the other guys to come out. And we've got comfrey there, nice little transplant as of the past week. It's still trying to take hold. You can see that one leaf at the top there is very strong. The other ones are kind of withered. It's probably because it's been exposed to full sun and hasn't, you know, as a transplant, had a tough time. But the new pride and joy of this garden is this baby mulberry tree, relatively baby, toddler size, and I was super stoked to get a mulberry. Been looking forward to this tree for a long time and trying to get something. I wanted to basically, if I'll show you the back up here, the design, I wanted to have a tree and this sort of lobe and a tree in that lobe, which was the pecan that already came like that. And so I was planting for succession, which is a concept in permaculture where you basically start with the low-lying things, annuals, the things that will produce right away, and then meanwhile you plant trees and more perennials, things that will produce over time. And so as years go by, it casts more shade, but more nutrient dense things will create food on an ongoing basis reliably as the time goes by, and your canopy level will rise and rise. So what I'm expecting to see here over time, the next couple of years, you know, I don't even know where I'll be, but I'm hoping that this mulberry comes up and becomes a really big tree, and that pecan comes up and becomes a really big tree. And then, like I showed in that gray water area, there's the elderberry, which should produce a big bush about that size. So you basically have like a big old tree, big bush, and a big old tree. And those two trees, I'm imagining, they will come up and they'll be searching for the light that's available. The mulberry should search for that light, and the pecan should search for this light. And so it will create this shade along this pathway where it's currently baking in the sun. And in Texas heat, you want shade. And that mulberry is going to produce, hopefully, they can produce hundreds of berries. And the pecan, hundreds of pecans. And the elderberry, hundreds of elderberries. So that's pretty sweet. Looking forward to that. And yeah, things are looking pretty good. And I've done a little compost tea feeding of these, a little fertilizing. Just took some of the weeds from our more like food heavy garden we have growing up there. I'll do a separate video of that at some point. But more vegetable crops and stuff. So when we pulled up carrots and other greens and stuff, just put them all in a 55-gallon drum and put some donkey poop in there and some mushroom compost and let it sit for a while. Just kind of gradually went and sprinkled it around. So things are growing well. The leaf mulch that was put down on top of the cardboard, on top of the donkey poop, that's all breaking down. Things are really rich in here. I hardly ever have to water. I only really water if I do a transplant, and everything else seems to be doing really well. Very lush and green, and very minimal like insect damage, but I'm seeing as things flower, more insects are coming in, and it's really cool to see. So I'm hoping as time goes by, we'll see some more flowering, some more fruit producing at some point. And yeah, so if there's any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. Let me know what you think, any questions you have. And yeah, feel free to get out there, throw some seeds in the ground, transplant some stuff, take cuttings, grow stuff, make a garden wherever you can, because it's a pretty enjoyable experience. Alright, signing off.